Hi everyone. This tray setup should look a little familiar as you just finished your endo exam. And I'm sorry if there was any confusion. There's a couple of instruments that were labeled incorrectly. I don't know if you caught it or not. Unfortunately, none of you called me out on it. But these two instruments here were actually switched. So even though everybody put the Glick number 1 for number 7, this should actually be the Woodson, and the one that's labeled Woodson should actually be the Glick number 1. If you remember, I just put out a review video in regards to some questions that some individuals had, and the Glick and the Woodson were part of that discussion or that video as well. So the Woodson is always going to have, even though they're very similar, the Woodson and the Glick, they both have what resembles a paddle end. The Woodson is always going to have more of a shorter, blunt condenser end, which is going to be similar to an amalgam condenser, whereas your Glick number 1 is going to have on the opposite end what looks and represents a endo plugger. And that's again because your Glick number 1 is going to be utilized most often at the very end of the procedure, once a gutta percha has been placed, to remove the excess. And then with the plugger end, what the endodontist or dentist will do is ensure that the gutta percha is in the canals where it needs to be, rather than up into the pulp chamber. The only place the seal needs to happen is along those canals. So I hope that wasn't too confusing for you. In the event that one or both of these instruments happen to show up on your final, I hope you'd be able to determine which would be the Woodson and which would be the Glick number 1. One more thing that I do want to kind of share with you all is this. In the tray setup also, it was showing the endo ruler, which was this one right here. It was just silver in color. Let me see if I can scroll up here. So number 11, I know some of you put that number 11 was the measuring block when it's actually the endo measuring ruler. This is what the measuring block would look like, and it's going to be used to determine lengths either with the files or with the gutta percha, the paper points, again to determine what length or size it's going to be. Each of these numbers would represent the length of the canal, as each of these here on the ruler represents the length of the canal either as the dentist is measuring the file when they're placing it into the canal, or for the gutta percha to know how long and how much gutta percha is going to need to be placed in there and how far down for that gutta percha. So what's nice about this endo ruler here is it fits very snugly onto the finger, so it's a little bit more convenient. This one you do have to sort of hold, but it is nice because you can actually place the corresponding either paper points or gutta percha into this measuring block and have it ready to go, rather than kind of having to do it more at the end. So I hope this helps to clarify a few things.